brings you Christmas in Freedom, a special holiday broadcast from Fort Ontario, the emergency refugee shelter established by the United States government as a temporary haven for nearly 1,000 refugees from European countries who are waiting to return to their liberated lands. In a little while, we'll switch you directly to Fort Ontario for the first Christmas celebration which these men, women, and children are enjoying on American soil. We present first a brief message from Miss Dorothy Thompson, noted columnist and newspaper woman, who will speak to you from New York City. Miss Thompson.
Good afternoon. In Oswego, New York today, 1,000 people are rejoicing over the greatest Christmas gift that could have been given them, namely that to save their lives, they have been admitted to the United States. They are not here on immigrants' visas or conventional visitors' visas. Legally, it's dubious whether they are here at all. Though they are our friends, they are not enjoying American freedoms. They cannot move outside a restricted area. When hostilities cease, they must go back to Europe. Their passports, if they have passports, were issued by 14 different nations. Their religions are as diverse as our own. They include, that is to say, Protestants and Catholics and Jews. Their guardians are the War Refugee Board, which was created by the President many months ago, against strong opposition, I regret to say. They have been brought here because there was literally no other place where they could go. Most of them have already gone everywhere that there was to go. Their lives have been one long escape story, until finally they were cornered. Among them are little children who have never known what it was to have a home or to live in a community where they need have no fear. Every year we celebrate the birth of a child in Bethlehem who was born in a stable because his mother could find no other place to lay her head and bear her son. We celebrate the birth of that refugee child with tinseled trees and orgies of spending on gifts, for in him we profess to see the light of the world and the hope of mankind. That light, however, burns more dimly than our Christmas candles, and that hope, after 2,000 years, remains but a hope. The world that loved unkindness then loves it still. Men who hunted other men then hunt them still. It is told that at the birth of the babe of Bethlehem, among cattle in a stall, angels appeared in the heavens, promising a peace on earth to all men of good will. That peace is not in our world, for goodwill is not in our world. Let us therefore be thankful that there is a tiny patch of God's peace in Oswego, New York. 1,000 people are very few. In a world in which millions are dying, the statistically minded might say that it is hardly worthwhile to save a mere 1,000 lives. European concentration camps are teeming with the politically and racially persecuted. If those who are in Oswego, New York, were not where they are, they would only have minutely swelled that great prison population who, when their number becomes too large, are simply exterminated. What is one, or what are 1,000 amongst the millions? But what is one is not a statistical question, but a highly personal question, if that one happens to be you. The war is a terrible war, but never remotely so terrible as when a telegram comes to one's own door. And there is no sum of human suffering that is any greater than what can be suffered by one individual person. The whole fate of mankind is encompassed in the single person. Therefore, in this world of frightful suffering and terror and fear, it is to be written to the credit of the United States that it tried to save some human beings, and that in this most unhappy world it has made 1,000 people fairly happy. To these 1,000, the place where they live is no confined place. It is the whole universe of human decency, goodwill, and freedom. It is no permanent home, and yet it is a first home. Our visitors have been admitted to the United States as an act of Christian charity, but they have become a Christian message to us. The message is that the people who sit in darkness may yet see a great light, and our visitors brighten our Christmas insofar as they ease our consciences. They remind us of what Tolstoy said, that all the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of one single candle.
Thank you, Miss Thompson. We take you now to Fort Ontario at Oswego, New York. The next voice you hear will be that of Mr. Joseph Smart of the War Relocation Authority, Director of the Emergency Refugee Shelter. Mr. Smart.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Christmas celebration here at Fort Ontario, New York. Here, men and women of many lands and many faiths are celebrating their first Christmas in America together. Standing beside me at the microphone are the members of our mixed choir, whose singing has helped the people here to forget the terror and devastation which they have experienced. The choir will sing for you now, "A King is Born to Us," a Yugoslavian Christmas carol known and loved in many lands.
My name is Visko Marinkovic. I am 15 years old. Until I was 12, I lived with my parents on the island of attending school and helping my father, who was a farmer and fisherman. It was a pleasant father and my sister Katica and brother Vinko, and we lived without fear. When the Italian fascists came, our people fought at first, then as partisans. One day, the Italians threatened to kill hostages unless resistance was stopped. 20 of our friends and neighbors were killed. Finally, in 1943, the partisans drove the Italians away, and our island home was turned into an army base to fight the fascists, and all our people were evacuated to Bari, Italy. Now we are at Fort Ontario, go to school in the city of Oswego, and fear has passed, because we know that every American is our friend. Christmas at Fort Ontario is a wonderful experience for all the refugee children, and we are grateful to our friends in Oswego and all over the United States for it.
Thank you, Visko Marinkovic. And now another carol by our Fort Ontario choir, "I Bring You Glad Tidings," sung in Czechoslovakian.
My name is Grete Weinstein. Many of the children in Fort Ontario, born in exile and driven from place to place, have never seen a true Christmas celebration before. Even to their parents, Christmas lights, after years of darkness, seem a strange thing. I was born a Christian in Vienna, but the man I married is a Jew. When the Germans came to Austria, we were put in prison, then ordered into exile. We escaped and hid in the woods until, through the underground, we found our way to Yugoslavia, only to be interned. When the Nazis came to Yugoslavia in April 1941, they stole all our personal possessions. With 40 other people, we again escaped. We made our way to Italy, only to be captured by the fascists and sent to a concentration camp. Some of our people were killed at Ferramonte by bombs from the air. Even in Italy, we were not free from the Nazi terror because the Germans came there and were expected to be killed. But the Allies saved us in time. For the first time in years, we were free. With all our hearts, we thank the American people for the privilege of being here. Now we want only freedom and security and the right to live as men, not as hunted animals. The memory of this Christmas in America will always be precious, and for us there is new meaning in the words, peace on earth and goodwill to men.
Thank you, Mrs. Greta Weinstein. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here at Fort Ontario in our Christmas celebration. The men and women at this emergency refugee shelter have asked me to thank you all on their behalf for the hospitality and kindness America has shown them, and to wish every one of you a very joyous holiday season. We close now with Silent Night, sung by Mrs. Lydia Finger and the Refugee Choir.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard Christmas in Freedom, a special holiday broadcast from the Emergency Refugee Shelter at Fort Ontario, New York, brought to you by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with the American Friends, Celebration with the American Friends, Celebration with the American Friends, Celebration with the American Friends Service. The opening service. The opening service. The opening address you heard was that of Miss Dorothy Thompson, noted columnist and newspaper woman, and the Christmas carols were presented by a mixed choir of the Emergency Refugee Center, led by Charles Abilis with Lydia Finger as soloist. This is the soloist. This is the soloist. This is the National Broadcasting Company.